My name is Keith Wapner. I'm an orthopedic surgeon and I practice in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So one of the big benefits in moving from Anchorage 1 to Anchorage 2 was the change in the configuration of the CP hole and the CP screw. So the CP hole was made more of a bowl shape and the head of the screw was made more of a bowl shape. So it's more like a ball and socket. So the congruency between the head and the plate was increased, and that increased the ability to get compression. And one of the other big advantages was when we moved to CP2, we actually made an independent, partially threaded compression screw. So those two things added the amount of compression that you can get and the stability that you get from the compression. And I think those are major improvements when we moved up to Anchorage 2. So this actually is kind of funny to watch because a lot of people have a problem getting their head around the concept of what we're actually trying to do with this. And when we go to the lab and we have that surgeon that we're teaching put in the first two proximal screws in the plate, and then they put the CP screw in, as they do the compression and they tighten it down and they realize how much compression, you get this sort of aha moment where their eyes kind of pop open a little bit, and invariably they just kind of go, wow. And it's that aha moment it's kind of entertaining. But I think that sort of drives home the point is that until you've actually experienced it, you can kind of understand the theory of it. But when you actually do that and you get that compression screw, and then usually what we'll do at that point is we'll say, okay, we haven't put our screws on the other side yet, but just pick it up and see how rigid it is. And then you get that second aha moment where they go, wow, that's really cool. And so that's always fun when we're teaching it to see that. So one of the problems that you have with an independent screw is when you tighten it, you're generating a tremendous amount of force and you're relying on the strength of that proximal cortex to stand up and not crack. If you over tighten it and it's just that half turn, you hear that little crack where that cortex splits, and as soon as that cortex splits, you lose all your compression. And so the advantage of using the CP technology and getting that compression screw through the plate is it eliminates that problem. So you're able to generate as much compression force as you want without fear of fracturing it. And also, when you're getting your compression through the plate, you're also pulling from the proximal screws as well. So you're really getting a more even distribution of pressure, because when you're just using an independent cross screw, the vector of your force is going from proximal dorsal to plantar distal. And so the force across the fusion is not symmetric. But when you use the CP plate, you're still getting that force, but because you have those proximal screws, it puts more even compression across that fusion site, and so you're really getting the best of both worlds. With the Anchorage 2, there's a lot more versatility because we have more plates. So now we have not only the plates for the first MP joint and the first metatarsal cuneiform joint, but we have the utility plates that can be used in the second and third MTC joints, and then the midfoot plates that are designed for talonavicular and calcaneal cuboid joint. There's both a short and a long version of that plate. And so essentially we're now able to apply that technology to any joint from the short parts joint distal. And so that's been exciting because we'll really be able to address these more complicated deformities where you have to do multiple joint fusions and get that same amount of stability and that same type of fixation.